Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who, for a little while at least, will have to admit that Manchester is blue. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
I admit nothing. Hello.
So, Man City are champions.
They are.
It's finally happened.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have this weird sort of feeling of inevitability, but finally it's happened?
I mean, yeah. And it's not that surprising. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a weird way of covering it, I think, because it was sealed with Manchester United losing to West Brom.
Which was weird, right? We'll talk about that in a second.
Well, yeah, we definitely will. But I think, and so it felt like, oh, it's finally done. Whereas in reality, it's probably been done since, like, October. Do
you think it had a sort of, anticlimactic feel about it? Like, if it had been last week and Man City had beaten Manchester United, that would have been sort of, it would have felt dramatic, right? But seeing...
That's one word to use.
Well, yeah, you're a Man United fan, obviously, so I know it would not have been dramatic in a good way for you. But watching it be this sort of Man United losing to the bottom team in the table, and then you see the Man City players watching, I don't know, it had this weird sort of not quite what I expected moment.
Well, what did you expect? Like fireworks and parades in the streets?
I expected to see Manchester City winning on the field and then celebrating themselves being champions.
Yeah, I think Leander Charlakins had a comment about that when people criticize single table, and it's like, they won by not playing that.
Sometimes you miss the moment, right? You don't have that superb owl moment.
Yes, and so I think they tried instead to. There's like a lot of footage, like Vincent Kompany watching with his girlfriend's like grandparents.
I saw that. Yeah.
So little moments like that, I think, is what they chose to emphasize with Man United losing. But either way, City are your champions. Should we start there with their 3-1 victory over Spurs?
Yeah. So this is our thumbs up, thumbs down review of all the action we managed to see this weekend. I want to start with a thumbs up to Raheem Sterling for finishing on a high.
Okay.
So Man City beat Tottenham 3-1. Raheem Sterling, if you look back at Man City's season, do you remember that spell when he kept scoring late winners and he was the guy? And then there was a spell where he kind of kept missing chances.
Yep.
The end of this Man City-Tottenham game included both of those things.
Yep.
Right? There was the moment where he dribbled past Lloris.
I wouldn't say the end included moments of him missing chances, because I would say the whole game he missed some chances.
Right, okay. Well, the most high-profile one was where he dribbled around Lloris, then dribbled around Eric Dyer. Then Eric Dyer, somehow, his leg was longer than it looked.
Yep.
And he managed to block Sterling's shot. But then a few minutes later, Sterling gets on the end of that Jesus rebound and scores, makes it 3-1. So in some ways, he scored the goal that sort of sealed the deal.
Okay. So in some ways, he sort of scored the goal.
Yeah.
So why are you giving him thumbs up then?
Because I've really felt for him every time he's missed those chances. Because it's like that thing where you do so much good work and then you have one high-profile miss and then everybody kind of points and laughs at you. And I felt like Raheem Sterling deserves better. He deserves to be celebrated.
Then I had it as a thumbs down. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I have it as thumbs down to Raheem Sterling for being England's scapegoat this summer because...
Oh, preemptively.
As you said, he did so much stuff off the ball in this game, and he was causing problems and drawing defenders over and making smart passes, but he missed those chances, and I could see that exact scenario happening for England where he does all this other stuff, but he misses one chance, and that's what everybody criticizes him for.
I hope your prediction does not come true, but your crystal ball is pretty good.
I mean, it's just narrative tends to influence the way things are covered, and so even if he has a bunch of great through balls and sets up a bunch of chances, if he himself misses one, I feel like that's what people latch on to.
That'll be on the back of the tabloids.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe even the front during the World Cup.
Yes. Or he could just Photoshop himself out of images or into images so that he feels better about things, much as Benjamin Mendy did. Thumbs up to Benjamin Mendy for his Photoshop skills. Not even for his Photoshop skills.
I've got the exact same thing written down here. Yep.
Yes, it was basically, for those who didn't see, City, when they officially became champions, tweeted out an image, and it's like 6 different players, I think it was.
Kevin De Bruyne, Vincent Kompany, Raheem Sterling, Sergio Aguero, David Silva, Gabriel Jesus.
So 6 players, Benjamin Mendy not on there, so he put his face in front of, I forget who it was.
Raheem Sterling.
There you go.
Yep.
Ooh. See? There we go. Already, Raheem Sterling's getting scapegoated.
I did my research.
He's getting shunted to the side.
Hashtag Shark Team. That's that may be Benjamin Mendy's sort of biggest contribution to Man City this season, is to coin that phrase, and it kind of describes them very nicely.
Why is that? Because they're ruthless and predatory?
Yes.
Yep.
And they got dead eyes.
That too. That too.
Maybe a little bit of a thumbs down to Spurs for sort of getting it wrong in this game. From what I saw, they seemed to want to do something similar to what Liverpool did, which was to sort of block the passing lanes, clog the middle. And I think they traded off their usual sort of all-action press.
Yep.
And if you watch the first... Gabriel Jesus scores the first goal, right? Vincent Kompany has all that time to just pick his head up and... I mean, Spurs did block off the passes to the midfield, but they didn't block off Vincent Kompany's time and space or Gabriel Jesus running in behind, and A plus B equals goal.
Yeah, I think anytime you have the high-pressing team and then you try to adjust a little bit, if you're adding any sort of wrinkles into the plan, you have to adjust for that. And I think you could see that with some of the Spurs players, whereas
so
in other
try
games...
to do your own coding on a web page. And
then it just crashes, right?
Exactly,
yeah. No, but in this situation, what I mean is just more so that anytime a player, if they know what they're doing, they can go out there and execute the game plan.
I see.
But if you're suddenly like, but actually, instead of doing that thing you normally do, like stay here or like move over 5 yards. If you have to think, then suddenly you're not in your usual rhythm. And I think that's what you could see from Spurs.
Bobby Warshaw would agree. You get in your flow state when you're doing the sort of the things that you always do, but when you have to do something different, you have to think, and you're a little slower, a little more cautious, I guess is the
and
word.
So I think you could just see those little delays here and there. There's like 1 or 2 second delays, but that's all City need to find space and time, and in this case, goals. And I think it's also worth noting, thumbs up to Man City for... Man United may have handed them the title. I still kind of get annoyed by that.
I'd say more they dropped the title for Man City to pick up.
Well, or as in a bunch of other teams didn't also lose to Manchester City this season. Like I think it's because United are 2 and because there is the Manchester Derby aspect of it that people do like see it as like, oh, United gave the title away. It's like, well, they're like 20 points clear now, so I'm pretty sure it's been given away.
I saw Jose Mourinho's post-match comments after Man United lost to West Brom, and he basically said the same thing.
Yeah.
That, they are the best team. We've known this is coming. Let's not make a big drama. He
I
also made sure to mention that I have won 8 titles, so this is not such a big deal to
me.
me.
It was about when they beat Man City that he thought his players over-celebrated and thus weren't prepared for West Brom.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed that he definitely said, I was the first to say congratulations when they won the title. I said it many weeks ago. They've won the title.
I've got a final thumbs up to Belgians having each other's backs.
All right.
So Ben Davies, the Spurs player, had pretty nasty tackle on Vincent Kompany. Kompany had a lot of injury problems, but he's back and strong and keeping John Stones at the team. And then it seems to me not long after, his fellow Belgian, Kevin De Bruyne, made sure to get some measure of revenge.
That ruthless enforcer, Kevin De Bruyne.
Exactly right. He's not old Pink Cheeks. He's not the guy you think of as a
ruthless
enforcer. He made sure to just let Ben Davies know that you don't do that to my fellow Belgians.
Yeah.
De Bruyne got himself a yellow card for a nasty tackle.
He did.
Which is not really a thing I should be praising, but I do like the element of protecting your teammates.
You get their back.
Yeah, maybe De Bruyne is just looking ahead to the World Cup already.
That could definitely be. Just let everybody know. Hands off into company. So I don't have much else from that game, but I do have several other things from the Premier League.
Yeah, well, can we go to the Man United West Brom game?
Sure.
Because that is also very much involved in this title race. Well, the race is over. Have you got anything? You got anything that you want to start with on this?
No, go ahead.
I've got thumbs up to Jay Rodriguez for using his mind control powers on Nemanja Vidic.
That Matic?
Excuse me, Nemanja Matic.
I was going to say, if he's using him on Vidic, he is out of date.
Thumbs up to Jay Rodriguez for using his mind control powers on Nemanja Matic. So you've seen the goals. Jay Rodriguez scores the header. It is Matic who sort of accidentally, under a bit of pressure from Dawson, I believe, heads it to Rodriguez to score. But in the build-up to this, the reason West Brom win the corner kick is a Jay Rodriguez sort of... West Brom are trying to clear as Man United are putting them under pressure, and the ball pops up in the air. Rodriguez sort of brings it down, and Matic and Smalling close in, and then Rodriguez just pulls off this cut that no one's expected and accelerates. It feels like he accelerates away from the entire Manchester United team, leaves them in his wake. It was a really impressive move from Mr. Rodriguez.
All right. So that was both of those were the mind control?
Yeah, like he froze him the first time and then he made him give him an assist for the second one.
I see. I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there was lots of other weird moments in this game. Paul Pogba going for the intentional handball. That was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, he kind of got bumped on the way through, right? And I think
he still threw that hand up there.
Yeah, all right.
I think he still knew what he was doing.
He was trying to do the thing that we'd been praising him for doing recently, right? Which is where he pulls a bit of skill in attacking midfield, plays it out wide, then charges in the box. But then the arm extended.
Yeah, I think, and like there was the Ander Herrera penalty shout. There were chances that maybe United should have taken, leading to Mourinho saying that he felt like his team over-celebrated that win against City. I, as a Man United fan, am sort of happy this result happened. Maybe not as a Man United fan, but as a person who does a podcast about soccer every single week.
Can I guess it's because you don't have to prolong the title race?
Pretty much. Because it's just sort of like we know what's going to happen, but if we have to create this fake idea of United could keep the pressure on. It's like, no. They are now 16 points clear.
New theory then. This was a Mourinho tactical masterclass to just end the title race, get it over with. He told Matic, just don't tackle Rodriguez, let him go through, and then set him up for the goal. Matic has worked with Mourinho a long time in the past. So yeah, I think that's what happened.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Done. I like that we're willing to give that credit. Yeah.
Anything else from this game or elsewhere in the Premier League?
Elsewhere in the Premier League, I've got from Southampton's 3-2 loss to Chelsea. Conciliatory thumbs down.
By loss, you mean throwaway?
Yeah, there it is. Conciliatory thumbs down to the Saints because that's that. They are absolutely getting relegated in my mind.
Does it feel like there's not really a relegation fight this year? I mean, it just looks like West Brom, Southampton, Stoke, and there's not much else going on.
The gap is widening, yes. You have 5 points separating 17th Swansea from 18th Southampton. Felt like this was the game to tighten it up. Seemed like they were. I don't see how you go up 2-0, concede 3 goals in 9 minutes, and really are able to come back from that one. That's not going to rally you to greater things in your remaining 5 games. That's pretty much like, if we can't even hold on to a 2-0 lead, we got problems that we're not going to be able to fix in time.
Olivier Giroud not welcome in Southampton for a few weeks?
Or in Alvaro Morata's house, maybe, because I've also got thumbs down to Alvaro Morata's World Cup chances, because he increasingly is struggling. I feel like maybe
he was dropped recently, right?
He started against Southampton. And
no, for Spain, I mean. He was dropped, yeah.
But started for Southampton, or against Southampton for Chelsea. Did not score. Olivier Giroud obviously comes in, gets 2 goals, sparks that comeback. You see the fight, the tenacity of Olivier Giroud coming in, winning headers, challenging for balls in ways that Alvaro Morata was not.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that little highlight package of him, not just the goal that he scored with his head, but the multiple sort of lost causes that he chased and won with his head.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe Diego Costa is like sitting there rubbing his hands together, being thankful that Olivier Giroud is doing what he's doing, because I think Morata, who seemed like maybe he was going to be able to get it going in the beginning of the season, I would say that right now this Chelsea move has not worked out for him.
True, but it has worked out for Giroud.
That's true.
Yeah. Anything else from the Premier League? I've got 2 more for you.
Go ahead.
Thumbs up to DeAndre Yedlin for his one-time pass assist to Ayoze Perez in Newcastle's 2-1 win over Arsenal. Okay. We don't always love DeAndre Yedlin's crossing. This, to me, was a very smart ball, just fired it in low and fast enough, but not so fast that Perez couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think
DeAndre.
I think it was good of him to. He clearly is picking out that pass. It's not just him firing it in low and hoping. He's picked his spots there. Had a solid game overall. I just hate that every game I see him in, there's always at least one moment where I'm like, oh no, please don't score off of this. Because I think he had one where he tried to dribble somebody, lost the ball. Arsenal come back. It ends with Mohamed El Neni, shooting wide. So it's not a very obvious chance, but it's still those moments of ooh, DeAndre, no. Please don't do that. But it worked out in the end.
Are we just overly sensitive to it? Because, I mean, I share those feelings. Yeah. Whenever I watch Yedlin, I'm like, oh, don't mess up.
Well, I mean, it's what we do with every American. We're like, I think you do it a little bit more than I do, but there'll be those moments where Dortmund will concede and it will, Christian Pulisic will have given the ball away 6 minutes before, and you're like, he was definitely at fault. You can't give that ball away. That leads to the goal. I think anytime there's an American involved, we're a little bit more sensitive for sure.
I'm going to say once again, if Rafa Benitez trusts you to play right back, then you're doing something defensively correct.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes, I think so. A couple of things from this game. I did enjoy. Did you watch Match of the Day 2?
Bits of it.
Do you remember who the pundits were? It was Martin Keown and.
Was it Ian Wright again?
I think it was Ian Wright again.
Yeah, he did double duty. He did Saturday, Sunday.
Both of them. So they said at the time that Alan Shearer was get on TV right now and talk about this game, because he was very excited. And neither one of them wanted to. And they tried to do so what does this mean for Arsenal? And he was just Ian Wright was like, we know. This is Arsenal. How many times have we had this conversation? And it did feel that way. But I think they haven't gotten a point away from home in 2018. That's not good form from them.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I think, or maybe they've gotten 1 point.
That can't be true.
They do not have a good away record, my friend. Yes.
Wow.
So not good stuff from them. So I found that slightly captivating just to see, again, it's kind of goes back to the thing I was saying with City, where it's we have to keep having this conversation about are United going to win it? No, they're obviously not. Are they going to press them? No, they're not. Will City be able to win the title? Yes, they will. And it's the same thing here. It's well, let's talk about what's going on with Arsenal. It's do we need to, or do we kind of understand that this season has not gone the way it was supposed to?
I kind of like as well that this season feels like it's coming to a close. A lot of things are going to be wrapped up. I feel like we can move on to the World Cup fairly soon.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
With that, yeah.
Especially if there's because even West Brom beating Man United, they're so far at the bottom of the table. I mean, Darren Moore, the temporary, I assume he's the caretaker coach, seems to have them fired up and organised, and they look really good in moments against Man United. It's too late, right? It's just way too late. I think they only have 24 points.
24 points with 4 games remaining, because they've played 1 game more than most of the people around them. So they would have to win everything and still get a lot of help. I'm actually
going to watch next weekend and just hope that all the relegation threatened teams, the bottom 3, sort of get results and we can finally see some action, maybe. Otherwise, I'm just ready to think about Russia.
We are sort of on that. at that point of the season where it is a little bit of like some teams are already on the beach, so maybe you will start to have a few of those teams get the results. We shall see.
Some teams are fighting the quicksand.
But yes, but you mentioned the looming World Cup. I would like to go back to Newcastle for a second to ask you, there seems to be a growing, if not campaign, then at least belief that maybe Jonjo Shelvey deserves inclusion or consideration by Gareth Southgate in the England World Cup squad. And I'm wondering how you feel about that.
So this is one of those things, can be two things. One is Jonjo Shelvey's performances have been very impressive for Newcastle. Did he have one of his like beautiful long ball passes today?
Several.
Probably to Dwight Gale, right? And it was kind of successful.
I think he plays the long ball over the top that leads to the goal.
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that one, but I think he definitely
accurate.
has lots of involvement.
But the other thing is that Gareth Southgate's been very clear about what his system and what his style of play is. And there's no room for a Jonjo Shelvey type player in that system, right? He plays a midfield three, basically, of a holding midfielder type pivot guy that's usually Jordan Henderson, and then two sort of more, I'm going to say, aggressive and like covering a lot of ground and quick thinking, quick moving guys, like usually Lingard and Ox or maybe Lingard and Dele Ali. And Jonjo Shelvey just doesn't fit into either of those two categories. And there's the argument that you take him to bring, something different, like a guy who can spray these long balls around the field. But that's not what Southgate's doing, is it, right? He's got his plan, and he's got, like, spare parts for that plan. Like, you could say, like, Dele Alli's a spare part for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain or vice versa. Eric Dyer's a spare part for Jordan Henderson. There's no point taking a guy who doesn't fit into the machine. You're taking a spare part for a different type of machine.
And I would add that there's no point in bringing a player who doesn't fit into the machine with the idea of, like, but maybe we'll tweak some stuff and get him to play the way we want him to play, because that's not what he's been doing. That's not what's allowed him to have the season he's had. So then it doesn't really make sense to bring him, to try to change him or not change him. So it makes sense not to bring him.
And it's just unfortunate for Jonjo Shelvey, because you could have a coach who says, hey, I want a guy who can like spray 50-yard passes, inch perfectly, maybe hit some shots from distance. But it's not that time, right? No. So I don't see Jonjo Shelvey going to the World Cup. And it's weird, he maybe deserves it, but I like the reason why he probably won't go is because Southgate has a plan. Shelvey doesn't fit into it.
This is true.
Sorry, Jonjo.
He can console himself with the fact that he will, if not be playing in the World Cup, then at least in the Premier League next season, because I think it's safe to say that Newcastle are going to stay up.
Yes.
I don't think they could be mathematically caught. But I think it's also probably a credit to Rafa Benitez for that level of work, given that it's been a lot of like makeshift solutions and bringing in loan players and hoping stuff works out.
One of my specific predictions was that he would be the first manager to resign or get fired in the Premier League, because he was so frustrated with how the transfers were going in the summer, if you remember. And he's just somehow sort of taking these various jigsaw pieces that didn't look like they fit together and just made something that looks like the picture on the box.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he has done a very good job in a way that I'm not inclined to give him a lot of credit. But in this situation, I think he definitely deserves it. So well done, Rafa.
Next US men's national team coach.
Incorrect. Although probably not the worst idea.
Speaking of former national team coaches,
I actually would not mind that at all, now that I think about it. He's very charming. I met him once. He was a very charismatic press conference guy.
I think he'd be a good US national team coach. He wouldn't be that exciting, but he would certainly have the US organised.
And I feel like Liverpool fans would be on board for that one. Newcastle fans maybe less so. But still, I'm good with it.
Thumbs up to Crystal Palace and their 2 false nines.
I'm still stuck with this. I want to go back to that, but he is the tournament coach, right? Isn't that his whole thing? That like he knows how to coach for big game competitions, big game tournaments? Just saying, could work out. Anyway, I can't believe you swayed me on this one, but you have. Let's move to Crystal Palace, shall we? Yes.
Thumbs up to Crystal Palace and their 2 false nines.
Okay.
So Christian Benteke had a bad week a couple of weeks ago. Remember, missing a lot of chances. Christian Benteke also slightly injured, I believe. And so Roy Hodgson...
Sure, that's what they'll tell you.
Roy Hodgson went with a front two of Wilfried Zaha and Andros Townsend. Essentially 2 wingers / attacking midfielders. If you remember, they did this early in the season, I think under De Boer, not under Hodgson, and it didn't work out so well. This 100% worked for Crystal Palace in their 3-2 win over Brighton, which, as you long-time listeners will know, is one of those weird derbies that aren't geographically based, they're just based on history. Crystal Palace Brighton is a derby.
Yes.
And they won 3-2, and Wilfried Zaha was absolutely brilliant.
He was. I was very conflicted. He scores the winner. It's a great header.
And the opener.
Yeah, but the opener is the one that I want to talk about because he scores it. I don't think he needed to score it because I think it's going in anyway.
Yeah.
And I watched this.
But make sure. Wilfried, make sure.
But see, that's the thing, is that, like, on the one hand, I was like, oh man, you're stealing somebody else's goal. Like, that's kind of harsh. But then I was thinking, but the other option is, maybe he like tries to shield it, but then that, like, somebody could easily come in, step through, like, win the ball, clear it out, and then suddenly all the headlines are like, oh, you weren't ruthless enough, you didn't try to score that goal.
Yeah.
So even if it means he gets the credit when maybe the credit isn't necessarily due, it still at least is a goal, 3 points, and a better chance at safety.
Yeah,
I'm not willing to say anybody is out of the woods. I mean, Newcastle is definitely out of the woods. That was more of a joke before. But Crystal Palace 16th right now. That win was definitely necessary.
All right, finally, in Premier League news, thumbs up to Neil Maupay for scoring a 94th minute equaliser for Brentford against Fulham.
Ah, there we are. I was wondering if it was going to come up. You had not mentioned anything about it previously.
So this is the goal that equalised. It was 1-1 Brentford-Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
That means that Fulham cannot catch Wolves. Wolves are definitely, my team, promoted to the Premier League thanks to Neil Maupay. I'm going to order a poster of him.
Now, that's a bold statement. This is my lack of research. So Wolves have secured promotion, automatic promotion.
Yes.
Have they secured the title as
No.
well? Okay.
They still need a few more points to, I think just a couple more points to make
together,
sure of
Wolves.
that. Yeah. Neil Maupay also got me some sleep this weekend. So Wolves were playing Birmingham City at 7 a.m. Our time, US Eastern time. I'd set the alarms. I was going to get up and watch it. But we had our league game, right? Because Maupay got Wolves promoted, I sort of didn't need to set the alarm and get up at 7 a.m. to watch that game. I could get 2 extra hours sleep, and I think it showed in my performance on Sunday.
Might be one of the few times I've ever heard you use us in relation to a team on this show. I like it. It makes me happy.
There we go.
So congratulations, Wolves. I like the video. Like, Wolves are back or whatever it was.
The pack is back.
The pack is
the
back.
hashtag.
There it is.
Yeah. They had a lot of stuff prepared to go, right?
Yeah. It's a similar thing to Man City where it's felt like it was going to be the case, but nobody really wanted to confirm it before it actually happened. Now that it has happened, where is my money?
How much do I owe you?
I think $10.
All right, I will happily pay it. I think I said this to Patrick Kennedy the other day. Jeff Shee and the Chinese group that owns Wolves have spent millions to get them promoted.
Yep.
I will happily spend $10 American. Not a problem.
But this was a bet we made, I believe, around this time last year.
Yep.
I
was not feeling good.
I'm pleased for you.
Yep. I read a story today. I don't want to go too heavy into Wolves stuff because I'm sure we'll talk about them in the Premier League preview, for example, next season, which I'm excited to have them included in.
I don't want to talk too much about them now. I'm sure we'll talk about them in 4 months from now. All right.
I saw a story today where they mentioned that we'd kind of taken a gamble. The money we'd spent this year, we would have been not in compliance with financial fair play. For example, they would have had to really have a panic sale maybe this summer to try and hit their targets. But because they get promoted to the Premier League, they hit their targets.
They'll be all right.
So there would have been like a Ruben Neves fire sale. Instead, there's hopefully Ruben Neves staying with Wolves and going to the Premier League.
More on him later in the show.
Oh, really?
But for now,
he's in the Scout Network,
there
right?
it is. But for now, anything else in the Premier League, my friend?
Nothing else from me from the Premier League, at least until next season. Oh, final thing I want to say is when the Premier League fixtures come out.
At least until next season? Do you think the Premier League is over? Do you think we're done talking about it?
No.
Okay.
The first game I'll be looking for is what I can't remember who it was. Someone on Twitter called it the TSS Derby. I'll be looking for Man United Wolves.
I think you all won the last one.
I remember Sylvan Ebanks-Blake scoring.
I think it was the season when y'all went down.
We also got relegated, so
you did. But I think you ended at that point. United were still unbeaten in the league. It was their first loss, I think it was in December, and it made me annoyed with you.
Yep. So we'll be looking out for that.
There we are.
Lots more to talk about, but first, today's show is sponsored by Simple Contacts.
That's right.
They're back. Simple Contacts are back with another sponsorship. Do you know what Simple Contacts are?
They're the most convenient way to renew your contact lens prescription and reorder your brand of contacts from anywhere in minutes. It's vision care for the 21st century.
I can confirm because I did it I got my contacts.
All right.
So the way it works is if you have a prescription for contacts and it's expired, instead of having to pay the money to go see the optician/ophthalmologist, the eye guy, instead of going to see the eye guy and having to wait and see him and all that stuff.
It's the eye man.
The eye man, excuse me, or the eye lady, depending on where you go. You can use the app, the Simple Contacts app, or the website to get your prescription renewed. It takes about 5 minutes, and I think you have to stand, if memory serves, you stand 10 feet away, and they do the screen, the screens with the letters, and you have to read them. So you have to cover your eye, read it. It's like doing the exam, but you're doing it weirdly virtually, and then someone records it so they can check that you gave the right answers. Then you put your eye right next to the camera and look up and down and left and right to check for redness. If you pass all that, which you should if your eyes are healthy and your prescription is correct, then your prescription is refilled, and then you can order your contacts.
After a doctor reviews it within 24 hours, so you know that you're getting at least some level of like medical review as well to make sure that all the tests are accurate. That said, this is not a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam, so make sure that you still get your eyes checked out.
Yes.
So if you're wearing spectacles like Daryl, you can then go on to wear contacts like Daryl.
I go back and forth.
Yeah?
Spectacles for Total Soccer
I had
Show,
figured.
Contacts for playing soccer. Yeah? Good system.
Yep.
It's a good system. If you want to get $30 off your contacts, go to simplecontacts.com/TSS, simplecontacts.com/TSS, or enter the code TSS at checkout. That's code TSS at checkout. You'll get $30 off your first order of contacts with simplecontacts.com.
It's a solid deal right there, says the guy who doesn't even order contacts. But I might, just because that deal is so good.
I don't think that's how it works.
Okay, fine. Fine.
When yours is reviewed, they'll be like, no, sir, this is not a good idea. Thank you to Simple Contacts for sponsoring today's episode. Shall we move to Europe?
Sure.
There was some soccer in Europe as well as in the Premier League.
There was, to varying degrees. I'm saying thumbs down to Monaco's title defense in Ligue 1. They won the title last year. This season, 17 points behind. 7-1 loss to PSG this weekend.
I did not know this.
Confirm PSG as champions.
Tell me Kylian Mbappe did not score.
I don't think he played, actually. I know Cavani scored a bunch, as did Di Maria.
A bunch.
But I know that...
What's a bunch is 5, like a bunch of bananas?
He scored several, I'll put it that way. And I first heard about this when I saw that Monaco were refunding the traveling fans who had gone to see them battle one last time for the league title and instead get destroyed. This is basically what United fans were terrified of last week with the Manchester derby.
Yes.
Is essentially what happened in France.
Ouchie.
Yeah.
Ouchie.
So
Monaco.
not great for Monaco's defense. And then for PSG, though, it's a weird thing because it's great that they win the league, but again, that's what they do. Like, it's still probably going to be seen as a disappointing season.
I've also heard, is it Julien Lorenz, the French journalist, sort of put the idea forward that what happens with Monaco quite often is they build up all these youngsters, then they get sold. Like there's kind of a sale last year, right, with Mbappe and all that. And then they rebuild, and they always have a year or two where it feels like it's all over, but they're just sort of letting the young players play, and then they'll be back and stronger in a year or so.
That makes sense.
So 7-1 is bad, but maybe it's all part of a very up and down learning curve.
I'm sure that's what they would say.
But they're still refunding their fans.
Yeah.
How about thumbs down to Gianluigi Donnarumma for taking the fun out of the Serie A title race?
Yeah.
So in the 93rd minute of Milan versus Napoli, there's a chance for Arkadiusz Malik, the Polish striker that we know and love. He's literally 7 yards from goal, controls the ball with his left foot. Donnarumma somehow comes out, gets big, and then as Malik strikes it to the far post, gets low and tips it round the post. All 8 feet of him, gets low, tips it round the post, makes this game finish 0-0. Juventus had beaten Sampdoria 3-0, so now Juve are 6 points clear at the top of Serie A. Juve play Napoli next weekend.
Yeah.
It was going to be like there's 3 points in it. Before there was no points in it. It was going to be this big game. Now, even if Napoli win away to Juve, they're still 3 points behind. You just can't see Juve dropping any other points. So I'm going to say...
It seems unlikely, yeah.
Donnarumma has ruined the Serie A title race.
I think it's really... It's an incredibly impressive save for everything that you've just mentioned, but I think it's also because Milik, the way he receives the ball, he basically has to shoot it. He's only ever going to try to put it to the far post, because if he opens it up, then suddenly he has the entire goal to shoot at. But because I think his first touch is just a little bit bad. It's not bad. It's still like he settles it well.
Yeah, it's flicked onto him, I think, and he's somewhat taken by surprise.
But if you watch it 40 times the way we have, you can see that he is always going to end up shooting it back across goal. But that's
he looks very left-footed as well, right?
He does.
Doing it.
But that's something that you can see. Well, I think a big part of that is because the way he settles the ball, he puts it out in front, so the only thing he can do is then swing through. He can't try to pass it to the opposite side. But that's the thing that you can see if you watch the replay a whole bunch of times. To be able to see that in a half second, which is what Donnarumma does.
And you say he reads it.
And I think he correctly reads, he's coming back across the goal, so I can cheat and maybe dive a little bit early and make that save. That's incredibly impressive as well.
There's that mental aspect that you just described, him reading what Arkadiusz Milik does, but then there's also just the physical aspect of getting so low so fast for a big guy.
Yep.
I also want to actually thumbs down to him for ruining the title race, but thumbs up for celebrating the save like he's just won the World Cup.
He definitely did that.
Amazing. High fives all around. He went charging out of his goal. It was brilliant.
Yeah. He's got to find something to be happy about. Why not?
Speaking of European title races, I've got another one for you.
I know where you're going.
Thumbs up to Hector Herrera, who won El Clasico in the 93rd minute.
Yep.
Do you know what El Clasico is?
The Portuguese derby?
It is. It is Porto versus Benfica. Porto won in the 93rd minute with this Herrera strike from distance, which I can only describe as top of the box, left foot, right foot, top corner. Go on, Hector Herrera.
Yep.
That puts Porto 2 points top of the Primeira Liga, that's what the Portuguese league's called, with 4 games to go, and Benfica still have to go away to Sporting. So it looks like Porto are in a good spot to possibly win the league.
And I'm going to say, with that in mind, thumbs down to Benfica manager Rui Vitória, because, as you said, it's Herrera. It's really clever. It's like really good dribbling under pressure because he's got players all around him. But maybe if he had one like very large holding midfielder in front of him,
maybe a big blonde guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have been able to score. So maybe if Benfica had played their large blonde, whoever that might be, maybe that goal doesn't happen.
I do. So this is similar to our Yedlin conversation, right? I really did look at this result and think, I'm not sad that Benfica lose, because the more they lose without Keaton Parks, the more chance that they sort of decide to call Keaton Parks up.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's a really twisted way of thinking about things, but
That's fine.
It's where we are, right?
Yep.
Anything else from Europe?
Yeah, I'll say one thing real quick. It doesn't relate to clubs. Actually, and then I do have one thing that relates to clubs from the Bundesliga. I will say that you mentioned the TSS Derby earlier. We apparently are going to have one of those in November. Did you see the news today? That apparently there will be England-USA or USA-England friendly.
Did it say where?
It said USA England is the way it was listed, which would imply it's going to be here in the US.
Interesting. So that's going to be during the UEFA Nations League stuff. So I'd be surprised if England travel over here.
That is a good point.
Unless they play their competitive UEFA Nations League game first.
It's still a lot of travel.
But then travel afterwards, right? So they wouldn't do it first, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be excited for that.
Either way, you're going down. Also went down was Dortmund 2-0 to Schalke. I'm going to say thumbs up to Americans for being Americans, because there were some Americans involved. Christian Pulisic starts, got some shots, maybe could have had a penalty. That's up in the air.
This.
Yeah, he got a little bit of a clip, but no penalty given, obviously, since Dortmund failed to score. Weston McKennie comes on, I think, in the 71st minute.
Correct.
Do you have anything to say about Mr. McKennie?
You know that I do. So he won the free kick, which Naldo scored. Like, it wasn't like amazing work from McKennie or anything. It's he receives the ball. I can't remember who it was. Someone else had dribbled past 3 players and then passed it to McKennie, top of the box. McKennie's first touch, he gets taken down. Then Naldo, the big Brazilian centre-back, steps up and absolutely buries this in the bottom left corner, I believe. It's a really impressive free kick for anyone. Double impressive for a centre-back.
Yep.
But McKennie was involved.
Yeah, I mean, indirect free kick goals are always especially fun because it's just, there's the added craziness of the ball rolling and then it's got to be struck. But I did want to say one more thumbs down from this game. The first goal for Schalke, your man Roman Berkey, beaten at the near post once again. Because you always point out that Roman Berkey is constantly beaten at the near post. Yeah. Once again, beaten at the near post by a very good shot, but still probably not what you want your goalkeeper to be doing, specifically in that derby.
I've got a hazy memory of this goal. I think it's good work from Calagiuri, right? Doesn't Calagiuri dribble at the defence? And it's Konoplyanka, I believe, who scores it. Yeah. Oh, it's a really nice, weird, outside of the foot bang from Konoplyanka, almost as if he knows Berkey's not good at the near post.
That could be, my friend.
Anything else from Europe before we hop across the Atlantic to these here United States of America?
Let's do it. And I feel like since there's going to be one game that I think is going to dominate most of the conversation, shall we move to Atlanta?
On Fox Sports 1?
Yes.
6 o'clock last night?
Yep.
Really good game of soccer. I want to give it just a general thumbs up to Atlanta United 2, NYC FC 2. To watch as a neutral, just to be entertained. I really did turn it on and be like, all right, there's all these great players, 2 really interesting styles, right? Like sort of pressing and breaking versus heavy possession. It's Atlanta versus New York. I really did sit down and say, all right, MLS, entertain me. I dare you. And MLS did entertain me.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how it entertained you and why it entertained you.
Well, I think just so in general terms, the quality of the play, just in terms of the ball being pinged around and sort of the pace of play, I kind of think Atlanta's artificial surface helps with that.
Really?
Do you not think when you play an artificial surface, the ball moves quickly? So when you've got 2 teams that want to play the ball quickly, it sort of fits it fits and it works. Right?
I never really thought about that.
Because then there's no bubbles on the field. There's nothing to interfere. Everything's smooth.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's one way to see turf.
Okay.
Sure. All right.
All right. And then to get to the specifics, I want to say thumbs up to David Villa.
Okay.
So David Villa, NYCFC are 1-0 down. David Villa's off the bench because I've forgotten the guy's name. Someone got injured. So Villa comes on to replace him. 2 minutes. He's got the ball in the back of the net from penalty kick, and he's been heavily involved in the build-up with a touch of quality that I want to say weirdly made all the difference. NYC FC had a lot of possession before this. They were just moving. They seemed to move the ball from one side of the field to the other a lot and just go back and forth, waiting to see what opens up. As soon as David Villa's in there, on a break, he pulls out a weird sort of, it's not a back heel. What's it called when you just roll it? Like a back roll?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? With the sole of his foot. Opens up the Atlanta defence. Birgit is away, wins a penalty kick. David Villa scores it.
All right.
Get in there, David Villa.
David Villa scores it. And then did you briefly get really, really excited when Darlington Nagbe theoretically scored?
I did. And I think I want to say thumbs up to VAR because it was used correctly and it produced the correct result. So here's what happens. Darlington Nagbe receives a cutback at the top of the box. Absolutely bangs it in the bottom left corner. It's a really nice finish. And at first glance, you sort of look at it and think, wow, Sean Johnson didn't even dive for that. Then when you watch the replay, you see Joseph Martinez standing right next to Sean Johnson, right? And I think that's a big part of why Johnson wasn't even able to make an attempt at a dive. The VAR people are obviously watching this while Atlanta are celebrating. Darlington Nagbe looks very happy, so it's very sad that it gets called back. And what you see on the replay is that Joseph Martinez is very much in an offside position because he's gone right behind the NYC FC defence, and he's interfering with play by essentially bumping into Johnson as Nagbe shoots, right? So it's to me, it's 100% the correct decision to call that goal back.
See, I think I don't disagree. Let me say that you are correct that technically from rules of the game standpoint, he is offside. He's interfering in play. It should have been called back. I think I just still have a little bit of an issue with it because we watched it again. Martinez he's not looking to run into Sean Johnson.
No, because he turns around, doesn't he?
He's looking back to see the shot come, and then he runs into Sean Johnson. And I think also, even if he doesn't do that, I genuinely don't think Sean Johnson saves that shot because it wasn't like he tried to fight past Martinez or he was preparing to dive. It felt like he was kind of shuffling over and got bumped and then just kind of stopped. And it didn't feel to me as though he was really going for it, and then somebody blocked him off from trying to make a save.
Yeah.
So I think it would have, even if Martinez hadn't been there, I genuinely think it probably ends up being a goal. And I think that's where I'm sort of conflicted about it because it's technically correct, but I also think that if he hadn't bumped into Sean Johnson, if he had been a smarter runner, then you have Jonathan Nagbe scoring a lovely goal from outside the box.
Maybe we've got to the reason here why people don't like VAR is that sometimes VAR catches things. Because no one else caught this, right? NYC FC players weren't even protesting. The referee didn't see it.
Sean Johnson didn't do anything. He just looked like, I should have done better with
that. He did, right? He looked mad, but mostly at himself, I think.
Yeah.
The guys in the review booth caught it. The referee didn't catch it. The AR didn't catch it. And I think this is maybe why people don't like VAR is because VAR is technically correct, but maybe not emotionally correct.
Yeah.
They're almost like grammar Nazis. You know what I'm saying? They're pointed out, that apostrophe should not be there. It's farmer's market has no apostrophe.
So again, I still think that it's the correct decision. It's just weird to watch that entire sequence happen and believe it should have been a goal while understanding why it shouldn't have been a goal at the same time.
Oh, the VAR wars continue.
Yep, they sure do. Anything else from that game?
Well, I've still got more thumbs up to David Villa because even though Alex Ring rightly gets most of the credit for his equalising goal, which he puts in the top left corner from the top of the box, doing his best Hector Herrera impression. If you watch the build-up to this goal, it's a lot of David Villa dribbling across the top of Atlanta's box, taking at least 3 defenders with him. He drags everybody over with him, clears out some space. Even the great defensive midfielder Jeff Laurentowicz is kind of flat-footed and watching David Villa just to see what happens next. And everybody forgets about Alex Ring because they're so focused on the guy who's won the World Cup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want to give Villa a lot of credit for Alex Ring's strike to the top left corner.
I get what you're saying, and I think it's similar to the Zlatan thing where he first came in against LAFC and he created space for Boateng. But in that situation, it still is people move around so that there is space for Boateng. Aren't you kind of giving David Villa credit for an amazing goal from 25 yards out from a one-time strike?
So if Villa hadn't dragged everybody out the way, there's no way Ring has that much space to sort of settle, look up and shoot. Right? Normally someone's on you, especially Atlanta players are on you as soon as you try and take that shot.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more of a tactical point I'm making rather than I mean, you can't take credit away from Alex Ring. His name is on the score sheet.
There you go.
Fair?
I mean, that's what I would have said about Jonathan Nagbe, and yet his name is no longer on the score sheet.
One final thing, if you'll indulge me. I watched this live and spotted it. We're big fans of the show him this way, show him that way defensive technique where you combine with a teammate to sort of direct the player with the ball in one direction so you can catch him and trap him. So Jeff Laurentowicz and Michael Parkhurst, two of the sort of less glamorous old heads of Major League Soccer in many ways, right? They catch NYC FC's Medina on a breakaway by doing exactly this. So Medina's running at Parkhurst. Luentovic is catching up behind. Luentovic points to Parkhurst where he wants him to send Medina, like to, angle it so he has to run that way or encourage him to run that way. And then they catch him. I just love the sort of teamwork of the two old MLS heads.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
Defense is important. Defense wins championships, Daryl. I don't know if you've ever heard that cliche a billion times.
I have heard that cliche a billion times.
I had one more MLS point to get to from Chicago Fire 0, LA Galaxy 1. Thumbs down to Chicago fans for angering the Zlatan. Don't do that. They had a banner before the game that was... I wouldn't call it a tifo. I'd call it a banner that said, "Who is Zlatan?" ? Zlatan answered by scoring the game winner.
He did.
Now you know.
Wasn't it? So I've seen this goal. It's an Ashley Cole cross, and Zlatan runs across the front of a defender and heads it in.
Yep.
It's very similar to the winner against LAFC. And I remember reading at the time, I wish I could credit who wrote this. They said, like, over the course of the season, you're going to see a lot more goals like that. Just crosses in Zlatan headers. The very basic goals that he's just good at the very basics, and he's a big dude with good technique with his head. More than the sort of volleys from 40 yards or the fancy goals.
Yep.
You're going to see a lot more sort of bread and butter goals because he's just so good at the basics.
Yeah, and I think to a point you made in that LAFC LA Galaxy review show that they moved Ashley Cole forward, Siggy Schmidt did, in order to get him more opportunities to cross because he can cross the ball really well. Example of that again here against Chicago. It's a good ball from Ashley Cole, and it's a great header from Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
He certainly crosses better than Felcher. I watched some of this game again and saw a lot of Duff Felcher crosses. I'm sorry if Felcher ever hears this show. I apologise. I hope it gets better.
Me too.
Anything else from MLS? I got a couple more if you're interested. I want to give the back of my thumb to Dom Dwyer.
Okay.
Dom Dwyer, very, very clever. Kleshton chipped through ball. Dwyer lets it hit him in the back. I think it's deliberate. Hit in the back, then spin around, and then finish. So it's almost like he uses his back as his chest.
Yeah.
So thumbs up to Dom Dwyer for putting his shirt on backwards.
Yeah, you can use any part aside from the hands. It's craftiness from Dom Dwyer.
Certainly
which is something that we've seen from him this season.
Yeah.
Depending on your definition of crafty.
Well, here's a way for it. Thumbs up to Dom Dwyer for putting his back into it.
There you go. I'm glad that you cracked yourself up with that one.
Huzzah? Don't huzzah for that one.
No, it was a good joke, just that you clapped and leaned back in your chair made it all the better.
Well, to give you the view behind the curtain, that's what I typed up in my notes, and I couldn't find my notes to describe the goal.
I was wondering what was happening over there. Now I understand.
I wanted to make sure to get it in. I got one final MLS note.
Yeah.
Thumbs up to Seattle, because if Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, Seattle is now the city of brotherly MLS assists.
All right.
So in Seattle versus Sporting KC, it's Alex Roldan with an MLS assist to Christian Roldan. Will Bruin was like the conduit in between.
Yep.
But it's a really nice Alex Roldan. I think it's outside of the foot.
It is indeed.
Bending in front of Bruin, pass, and then squares it, and the other Roldan finishes. I love brothers playing soccer together, especially when they combine.
If that were Jordan Morris, would you be annoyed by that pass? Because it's outside of the foot?
It depends what else Alex Roldan had been doing in that game. Yeah, it's all about context, isn't it?
Yep.
It's all about context.
But it's good for Seattle.
If it was Jordan Morris, I'd be very happy that he was back on the field. Put it that way.
That works.
Yeah.
It's very good for Seattle because what was the scoreline again?
2-2.
Do you know how many goals Seattle have scored this season? The answer is 2. Yes. So they were struggling. Still not maybe the result they would have liked, but at least finally putting the ball in the back of the net.
So, I mean, MLS early season,
Yeah.
in some ways it's not... You don't need to worry too much, right? I feel like you can give teams about 2 months almost to just figure out before you decide this season's going well or this season's going poorly.
I think at least 2 months. Yeah, you can give them even more in some cases.
So no need to panic just yet, Seattle fans.
No.
Orlando fans might be annoyed I didn't mention the score. They beat Philadelphia Union 2-0 through that Dom Dwyer goal.
More on that.
Good to see Sasha Question chipping assists through.
There we go.
Yeah. Anything else from you before we move on to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network?
No, sir. Just scouting. Let's do it. Where would you like to start then? I would like to start with Ed Ritter scouting Ben Mines, the 17-year-old American attacker for the New York Red Bulls. Ben was in the 18 but did not feature in both the Red Bulls' 0-0 draw with Chivas in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions League and in their 3-1 home victory over the Montreal Impact.
I didn't think about that. Mines off the bench might have been the move to go to as they were chasing a goal against Chivas de Guadalajara.
We say that, but again, we still haven't seen a lot of him. And to have this idea of we'll throw a 17-year-old in there and he'll fix it, I think that might be our hype versus his actual ability.
Hey, sometimes hype equals goals.
Sometimes. Interestingly, says Ed, Carlos Rivas, who played sporadically for OCSC last year, started for the New York Red Bulls 2 team, which is perhaps an indication that Mr. Mines is ahead of him on the senior team's depth chart.
It's Rivas that came off the bench in that Champions League game, actually, and did not do anything of note.
There you go.
Max and Mike Altschuler are scouting John Shushu Hilton, the 16-year-old American right-back for Koninklijke HFC.
Sure.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
A recent report from StarsandStripesFC.com confirms that the 16-year-old Shushu remains with Koninklijke's U19 squad and calls Hilton one of the big talents of his age range. Young American.
There has been a lot of other news about him, so Max and Mike were excited to see that.
I feel like Shushu's taking a gamble over there, so we'll just see if it pays off or not.
That works. Ted Tracy scouting Rubio Rubin, the 21-year-old American attacker for Club Tijuana. Rubio scored his first goal for Cholos since joining the team at the beginning of February. He made a nice run behind the defense, fooling the keeper and slotting home Cholos' third goal of the night in the 84th minute. It is fantastic to see Rubio score his first goal, says Ted, even if it came against a weaker Chivas side preparing for the CCL finals against Toronto.
So the move was a step over, right? I've seen this. He does a very nice step over, ends up going quite wide himself. There's a defender on the line, and the thing I like the most about this goal is he really picks his spot in the far corner, and I think he fires it into that sort of just inside the post side netting spot that is, I think, is every striker's dream, but most strikers are too scared to go for it because it's so close to missing.
But not Rubio.
Not Rubio Rubin. Go on, Rubio Rubin. Also, Liga MX's jerseys numbers, crazy stuff.
A little weird.
So I saw Rubin celebrating. He's got the 35 on his back, and it's like the 35 is dripping or bleeding.
I assumed it was like some sort of promotional tie-in, but that might just be what they do.
Bud Light was the sponsor?
Tijuana?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Andy Johnson is scouting Matt Real, the 18-year-old American left-back for the Philadelphia Union. Andy says that Matt Real made his third career start in the Union's 2-0 loss at home to Orlando City on Friday the 13th. I didn't think about that. The unlucky day was exactly that for Real, as he was not only responsible for both of Orlando's goals, keeping Dom Dwyer onside for the first goal, I didn't know that, and losing Chris Muller down the middle for the second, he also received his first career yellow card.
A game to forget. Friday the 13th to forget for Matt Real.
Sounds like reality is set in.
I heard it, and I don't like it. Logan Jurgens scouting Chris Muller, however, 21-year-old American striker for Orlando City.
It's Muller time.
Muller ousted the young Paraguayan DP Josue Coleman from the starting lineup and scored his second goal of the season in that win against Philadelphia. In the 45th minute, he received a pass at the halfway line, dribbled past 3 Union defenders, I'm going to assume including Matt Real, to score for Orlando City.
Have you seen this goal? So there's a mix.
Oh, yes, I have, because I remember the celebration afterwards because he does the Ronaldo.
He does, right? I was going to mention that. Yeah, he definitely does the Ronaldo. How do we feel about him doing the Ronaldo?
Hey, do what you do, man.
Do what you do. Just enjoy it and celebrate. It really does feel like you see that sort of, what's the word? You can see Chris Muller like 7 years ago as a teenager.
That's the weird thing.
Having a Ronaldo poster or whatever and watching Ronaldo video and then thinking one day I'll do that celebration.
Yeah, because it's not a thing that I would ever do. If I scored a goal, because I think he and Ronaldo and I are the same age, but it is weird. It is weird to think about that. But there are people who grew up watching Cristiano Ronaldo who they had Ronaldo on the back of their jersey and were super pumped to see him do those types of things.
So Chris Muller's making a good start to his Major League Soccer career. Ben Sundstrom is scouting Joshua Pinadath, the 16-year-old American left winger at Ajax. Joshua Pinadath has been selected for the Sport Chain Cup, where the US under-17s will play Norway and India. Joshua is still eligible to play for India, so hopefully playing against them helps solidify his choice to play for the USA. I did see a tweet from Scuffed on Twitter, that's where you put your tweets, that the USA beat India 1-0 in that first game.
All right.
Yeah.
Well done. I'm assuming Pinadath was involved. Hopefully we find out more.
Yeah.
Jay Glenn scouting Ruben Neves, or Neves, however we're supposed to pronounce that one, the 20-year-old...
It's pronounced Premier League midfielder.
Portuguese defensive midfielder for Wolverhampton. Matt Stead wrote that, quote, the 20-year-old Neves deserves acclaim for guiding Wolves back into the Premier League. His presence in the side has essentially been a cheat code granted by George Mendes, but that should take nothing away should take nothing away from his or Wolves' excellence. He has been the best player for the best team, end quote. Jay says he didn't choose that quote to cast any shade at Wolves, but because he believes the cheat code analogy sums up just how good Neves has been this season. Wolves fans should enjoy him while they can, says Jay, as he is destined for a much bigger club very soon, and adds that anyone who can shine through the 46-game meat grinder that is the championship is ready for the big stage.
That last line is exactly why I'm so impressed with Ruben Neves. A lot of sort of fancy passing midfielders just get knocked over and sort of ground up in the championship. Neves has just sat there and sprayed balls around all season and then occasionally like blasted goals in from distance. Yeah. The cheat code thing is interesting because apparently Wolves have still got some explaining to do in terms of, for example, why Ruben Neves is even playing for them. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of the complaints have been that the George Mendes connection makes it so that players like Ruben Neves joined Wolves below market value, for example. And it's almost like Mendes, because he's involved with Wolves and he's the player's agent, can say, yeah, play for these for a little cheaper than you would get elsewhere. It'd be a good career move, but also you do me a you know what I mean? There is a weird connection.
But are they actually being investigated, or is this just like sort of speculation because people don't like what they've done?
So in the Football League, in the Championship, there was sort of an agreement in place at the start of the season, and Wolves have apparently followed everything that was agreed to. But when you go up to the Premier League, they will look at things again. Well, I assume it will be okay, but it does mean that someone else is going to look at it. Yeah. And I think the Leeds United chairman was complaining, but after Leeds United lost to Wolves is when he was doing his complaining.
That's fine.
Up next, Manny Alcantara is scouting Junior Firpo, the 21-year-old Dominican left-back for Real Betis. Manny says that Junior Firpo played his 10th straight full match as Real Betis defeated Girona 1-0. Betis is now 7-2-1 since Firpo's promotion to the senior club, and Junior has contributed to 7 clean sheets. For context, Real Betis had only 4 clean sheets in the 22 matches they played before Junior's arrival.
That'll work. Well done, Junior Firpo. Thank you, Manny Alcantara. Guy Edwab, scouting Serge Gnabry. We've heard of him before. The 22-year-old German wide forward on loan at Hoffenheim from Bayern Munich. Serge Gnabry is doing things, Daryl Grove. In February, Julian Nagelsmann challenged Gnabry to be more consistent in his production. Since then, Gnabry has 6 goals in the last 6 games. This is a perfect time for him to round into form, as he needs to impress both Jogi Löw, if the youngster wants to go to the World Cup, and new boss Niko Kovac, if Gnabry hopes to beat Ribéry for a starting spot next season.
Oh, yeah, when he goes back to Bayern Munich. All right. Charlie McHugh. Oh, Guy Edwab, I got your question about Maxi Morales. After watching NYC FC this weekend, I think I have an answer. Okay. We'll do it on the next Listener Question show, hopefully later this week.
Sounds good.
Charlie McHugh is scouting Trent Alexander-Arnold, the 19-year-old English right-back for Liverpool. I think I know what's coming. Charlie says, Trent Alexander-Arnold started twice this past week, delivered strong performances in both matches, including a lovely assist for Mo Salah's goal against Bournemouth. If you haven't had a chance to see it, run to your nearest internet device now. I watched this yesterday. I watched it again at your recommendation before we recorded. I didn't realise just how great this ball was.
Yep.
So it's Alexander-Arnold from right back, bends it up and over and around the Bournemouth defence into Salah's path. I think it would have been a perfect pass, but Salah instead chooses to head it, take it early and head it.
Yes, which, I mean, it's a crafty, flick down header to the back corner.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed it. This is definitely your influence because I tend to oh, what a great pass. And in this one, I went back and watched a little bit before. I think it's James Milner. Could be wrong on that one. Might be Jordan Henderson. Could be somebody else.
Who'd you say it was?
James Milner.
Thank you.
And Horton Henderson. But
Horton Jenderson.
Yeah, there you go. But in the lead up to this play, it is also Trent Alexander-Arnold just doing simple little things. It's a simple square ball, then he runs forward, then he checks back, he receives it, then he drops it back, then he gets it again. It's smart passing leading to an excellent ball over the top, but also around the defense. It's a problematic ball for sure.
So the injury to Joe Gomez when he was playing for England has really benefited Trent Alexander-Arnold because they were trading off.
Gomez.
Excuse me. Yeah. They were trading off starting spots at right back. So since Gomez's injury, Alexander-Arnold's just been regularly in there. Seems like he's getting really confident and comfortable.
There we are.
He will not play for the US men's national team.
No. I did initially accidentally, when I was writing the 19-year-old blah blah blah, wrote 19-year-old American and then stared at it for a minute thinking, did I do that on purpose and not realize it? But no, he will not.
Michael Fisk is scouting Andreas Christensen, the 22-year-old Danish centre-back for Chelsea. I just realised I've jumped the queue and read should have been yours, but I'm doing it anyway now. Michael says, Andreas Christensen started in the middle of Chelsea's back three and was tested by the pace of Shane Long on several Southampton counter-attacks. I saw that. It wasn't enough as Chelsea went on to win the match 3-2.
Is it my turn, or do you just want to keep going?
Elijah Chappell is scouting Joe Willock, the 18-year-old
actually very happy with
English midfielder for Arsenal. Elijah Chappell says that Joe Willock got his Arsenal debut in Arsenal's 2-1 loss against Newcastle. Wenger called the youngster's debut promising, and Willock led the team in tackles despite starting as the central attacking midfielder in Arsenal's 4-2-3-1.
I feel like that's very good work from Elijah to make that into a positive scouting report.
Because I've seen the highlights of this game, and Willock misses not an easy chance, but basically the ball comes to him in the box, and Aubameyang is right next to him, and Willock steps in front and fluffs it. So I guess thumbs up for confidence?
Yeah, there you go.
Thumbs down for execution.
But also, like, in that game against Newcastle, like, I just enjoyed that it was a little bit of maybe not trying to get too involved in what happened.
Elijah didn't mention the score. Oh, he did. Arsenal's 2-1 loss against Newcastle.
So, yeah. But it was definitely much more of like, Arsene Wenger was pumped afterwards for Joe Willock and not like, yeah, I know, we never went on the road. It's not good. I'm aware.
Thank you to everybody for the scouting reports. If you would like to join this Total Soccer Show Scout Network, it's totalsoccershow.com/join. If you sent an email within the past week or 10 days asking for your scouting assignment, I will get it to you this week, I promise. I've had my mom in town. I've had my wife's mum in town. Been very busy, but I finally will have some free time this week to catch up on Scouting Network assignments.
There we are. And you've also had, Wolves to celebrate. There was some speculation as to how sober you were this weekend from that one, but I think you were at least good to go on Sunday for our league game. So
I deliberately was very healthy this weekend for our league game on Sunday.
I got you.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's the truth. It's the truth. All right, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with more Total Soccer Show.